So welcome back to Favorite Friday. For the third case of this week, we are going to Troy, New York. Anybody who's in like New York State, you may have heard of this case. It is a little bit on the older side because it happened back in the 1800s, so I highly doubt it. But you have definitely know down below. I'm gonna give us publicly known because I literally have one source for this because all those other sources pretty much say the same thing. And so that being said, I'm gonna quit my rambling, give us publicly known, and let's go get started. So Henrietta Robinson was said to have been born sometime in June of 1826 in Canada. So she's a Canadian native. However, in 1852, she moves to Troy, New York, where our story takes place. And apparently, a lot of people are over here wondering, like, where the hell she came from. So I guess Troy, from what I read, seemed like a pretty small town. She seemed pretty mysterious. And so, of course, back then, they had a lot of people asking questions. So then, apparently, she gets this apartment, and across the street from her apartment, there was a grocery store that was owned by a man by the name of Timothy Lanigan, and there's a bar right next to the grocery store. And this is important for the story. So apparently she would go to the local police at one point saying, hey, I need this protection from a man that lives near me because she was fearful for her life, which I mean, understandably so. They say, they apparently never actually sent protection or never did anything about it because apparently he never physically tried to hurt her. So I guess something needs to physically happen before we intervene, essentially. So then she would start going on midnight walks, mind you, by herself as a woman. And of course, this caused a lot of gossip about her because, who do you know as a woman that willingly goes for midnight walks by themselves? And so apparently she had a maid. So I guess, Henrietta had a little bit of money. And she would send her maid over to this grocery store that's across the street and to get groceries, of course, and to buy a brandy. Because like I said, the little bar is next door. And apparently this also caused talks because women just didn't drink brandy, at least not according to societal terms. So of course that caused even more talk about her around the town. So on May 25th, 1853, Henrietta basically goes over to across the street, like I said, the little grocery store with the attached bar next to it. She goes over there around like 11. She goes over to the grocery store to go buy beer and crackers. She goes back to her home. She comes back around 11 a.m. and she goes to the attached bar. In the bar, I assume were like a bunch of men. I assume she was probably like the only woman in there. And they told her that, you can't have to come in here because apparently back in the 1800s, it would be a bad look for a woman to be seen with a bunch of men. Because, I guess they thought, men and women should be mixing. And then might say some bad things about your reputation because, back then reputation meant a lot. And so she left. She came back about 1 p.m. The family apparently offered her leftovers. She offered to buy a round of drinks for everybody at the table. So I imagine they let her stay out after she offered to buy everybody a round of drinks. Because, who's going to turn down a free round of drinks? So then she sits down apparently with Timothy, his wife. His wife's not named. And Catherine Luby. So essentially the wife's sister. Sits down with all three of them. And of course, she's over here drinking with them, with the drinks I assume she paid for. And she says that the drinks aren't sweet enough. So then Timothy he offers to go get sugar to add to his drinks. So I guess, liquor was made different back then. So that she claims that by the time he'd already left, she had added some of the sugar herself. But we believe that it was not sugar, it was obviously poisoning. Once you see where this goes. So then the trio being the wife, Catherine, and Timothy, they apparently all had a glass of liquor each. So then Catherine, Jesus Christ. So Timothy and the wife, they go back to work, but apparently Catherine does not start feeling well. The wife says that Henrietta now needs to leave. I guess she's overstaying her welcome or whatever. So then she leaves. Timothy apparently, of course, gets to feeling worse. The doctor is called. Unfortunately, he dies that night. And Catherine dies around 5 a.m. the next day. So then, of course, obviously police are called because you have two people that are close to each other that just died in a short amount of time. Of course, apparently both bodies are confirmed to have arsenic in them. They go to Henrietta's house and apparently find arsenic in her home. And they go to a nearby shop and find out Henrietta had actually bought 3 bottles of arsenic within the last month. Because like I said, back then, arsenic poisoning was apparently like a big problem. Because most people, you're supposed to use it for to kill rats in your home and shit. And like I said, you have to sign your name and show some form of ID for why you were buying it. Like name, show ID, and why you're buying the shit, essentially. And she was able to get somehow 3 times in a single month. And she tried to suggest, the wife actually poisoned 2 of them because she asked me for $100, but I didn't give it to her. So somehow Henrietta apparently is not actually charged with murder until February of 1854. So the next year after the murder. So then while the trial, she is apparently wearing a veil over her face and only lifts it up when witnesses are asked to verify this is in fact the person who killed these 2 people. And so apparently that's why she is called the veiled murderess, because the veil that she wore to the trial. So then, of course, the defense tries to say that she's insane, try to get her off light, as the defense does. Prosecutors say, yeah, you may have been drunk, but that doesn't make you legally insane, which valid. And then apparently she's found guilty. She yells at the judge because she didn't think she'd be found guilty for this. Her execution date was set for August 3rd, because back then they made that shit quick. And then her sentence gets changed to life in prison. She stays in prison for like 18 years before she gets moved over to a mental hospital. There's a random woman who's not named. She comes forward and says, hey, I actually knew Henrietta, and her birth name is actually Catherine Woods, and her father is Robert. But like I said, it's 1800s, and that claim apparently has been unverified, so that's why all the sources are calling her Henrietta Robinson. Because I think had it been confirmed, they would have just called her probably Catherine Woods. And then, of course, Henrietta died in like May of 1905. So with that being said, yeah, that's the case of the veiled murderess. Like I said, you've heard the case, definitely let me know. I know Briefcase has already covered it, so I know some of you probably heard from him. And yes, before you ask, I did get this case from him. So shout out to Briefcase. And so with that being said, if you have any more female murders you think I should cover, I cover fatal females 3 times a week. This is Scott from Fatal Females. I'll see you guys next one. Bye.
You don't understand the pain it brings. You don't ever wanna give me wings. You don't ever wanna set me free.
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, baby, you'll get sick of being the monster out of my head, under my bed, thinking something out of my nightmares. See me right there. But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, then will you get bored of killing me? Then will you get bored of killing me? And will you get bored of killing me? And will you get bored of killing me? And will you get bored?